What's more important than water? What's brought more change to this earth than water? What brings more destruction than the absence of water? Here on the shores of the Kings River, water is dumped into a series of canals that run deep into the fields. But this wasn't always the case. 120 years ago, this river and all nearby creeks poured directly into Tulare Lake, the largest lake west of the Mississippi. So where did that lake go? And how did the most important water source in the Southwest go from being filled with fresh water to being lost to the sands of time? Let's start at the beginning. Around 750,000 years ago, the entirety of California's Great Central Valley was covered under a large lake.
So a key concept to understand about water is that it moves in a cycle. Water evaporates up and then it rains down. Lake Corcoran was a huge part of that cycle here in California.
The water evaporated into the air, pouring not only into the Sierra Nevada mountain range, but also into the Mojave and Great Basin deserts, turning the area between Reno and Salt Lake City into a vast grassland. Everything was green. Then it all changed the only way ancient California could change. 600,000 years ago, a massive earthquake ripped a hole, creating the San Francisco Bay. The entirety of Lake Corcoran flowed deep into the valley, creating the San Francisco Bay. As the lake drained, the deepest parts of the lake became three separate but large lakes. Lake Tulare was the largest of the three. When humans arrived around 50,000 years ago, the Tachi tribe settled directly on the shores of Lake Tulare.
At the time, one could stand here on the hills of Kettleman City and look east out over the large lake stretching towards the mountains on the horizon.
Deer, elk, and antelopes roamed the shores, and in wet years, salmon even roamed throughout the lake, making the area full of food for the Tachi Yokuts and later a very profitable fishing industry for the early American settlers. The lake was so large that even steamships could carry passengers from San Francisco all the way down to Bakersfield on it.
Look around! All of this was once underwater. There was fish in the lake, there was rain in the mountains, and even keep the temperature here on the valley pretty cool. So what happened?
To encourage settlers, parts of the lake were drained for farmland. After various flooding incidents along the river, more reservoirs were built throughout the 19th and 20th centuries.
Now most of this was done in moderation, just to keep the flooding down as well as keeping the people safe. The real problem actually came in the 1920s.
In 1921, J.G. Boswell founded the Boswell Company, growing various crops along the valley. However, his main crop was cotton. The cotton farming demanded so much water that Boswell had to keep draining the lake to grow his company. And to this day, the J.G. Boswell Company is still the largest landowner in all of Southern California, as well as one of the largest cotton producers in the United States.
Boswell and early farmers created a booming market. Without the lake, there was plenty of land to grow as many crops as they wanted, and cities like Stratford and Corcoran bloomed out of the dry lake bed. But when you take a link out of the chain, you break the cycle. And when a cycle breaks, there's always negative effects.
Average temperatures in the valley have skyrocketed, and larger droughts now haunt the area. Rain is no longer guaranteed, and wells along the foothills of the Sierra Nevada frequently run dry.
Everything comes with a price. In a way, it's almost as if we're being punished for what Boswell and the early California settlers did. The lake is literally haunting us, and to add insult to self-inflicted injury, the lake is also pulling us to hell with it.
Over the past 100 years, the dry lake bed has sunk over 2 dozen feet, and the lower we go, the hotter it gets. Nature is very complicated. Nature gets even more complicated when it comes to water. Out in the Tules is a saying no one uses anymore because the lake that it came from doesn't exist anymore. The saying means beyond far away, and in a sense it is very fitting now. Once upon a time, Tulare Lake was a cornerstone of the water systems in the San Joaquin Valley. Now, it's simply a memory out in the Tules.